Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spinner Rack. I'm here with my boy Petey. What's up, Petey?
What's up? What's going on?
Hey, so there was a big panel for Matthew Vaughn. He, of course, at NYCC, and he's pushing his show Argyle. I'm here to speak with Petey himself. Petey, tell us a little bit
So,
about this particular what
so
Matthew.
Petey was here reporting on it for you guys. I was there for you guys. I'm always there as your lead reporter on stuff that's happening. You know,
Okay, well,
I
let's start
gotta
with.
be here.
Oh, Petey, thank you very much for doing that. So tell us, what was your take on this whole panel? What was Matthew Vaughn like? What is Argyle? What is that? Some type of horror movie?
Well, let's watch it. Why would you say that? Why are you starting up with me already?
Oh my goodness. Yo, select the roll to tape.
I certainly hope you dance as well as you dress.
There's only one way to find out.
You and I, we're not so different. Agent Argyle.
A little help? Hold on.
The book is phenomenal, sweetie, but what happens next?
It's called a cliffhanger, Mother. Ellie, it's called a cop-out.
What?
Whoa, hey, there's a cat in there.
Oh my God, you're Ellie friggin' Conway.
Author of the Argyle series, Ellie Conway. I am such a fan.
Oh yeah? What is it you do?
Espionage.
Would you sign my book?
Here we go.
I love this book. Come on.
Who are these people?
Real life spies.
Why would they care about me?
Because you're a goddamn fortune teller, Ellie. What you wrote in your new book actually happened, and you kicked a hornet's nest you didn't even know existed.
I'm in some really big trouble, Mom. Oh, so now you're experimenting with drugs.
I want all assets on them now. I need her to write the next chapter.
God, I hate that cat.
It's time for you to meet the real Agent Argyle.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Wow, that is particularly interesting. I mean, but then again, I tend to like Matthew Vaughn's movies, so again,
Um, um,
First Class.
you said there was horror just now.
I said I didn't know what it was. I said I thought I don't know why I thought that. I was wrong. And so once again, PD. So you want to we give it to you. Oh, PD.
Okay, all right. First off, if you
But it's
look at
good.
this
What's your
trailer,
take?
if you look at this trailer, it doesn't reveal. It's usually just like it's just when I because they showed the trailer at first, and it's just like action all in your face, and there's so much going on. It looked good, but I said I don't know what this is about. And then they played a scene after talking about it, which kind of gives you the background. So I'm not going to definitely spoil it too much because that's you're going to the theaters to see that. But at the same time, it gave you the background. Ultimately, it's a spy sort of drama with another edge. It's supposed to be like spies mixed with what happens in what's that thing? If it was like a real life J.K. Rowling's
Right.
like but in the spy sort of form. So there's going to be there's actually going to be novels connected to this. Some people at the con got the free novels, but this is supposedly the fourth novel in the Argyle series. There's going to be a whole series of novels going along with this stuff. So, but it's
So this is not something new. This is something that
no, it's new. But they coming up with it's because they've been reaching back for IP that's already existing. Hollywood more wants, because he used Hollywood as a term multiple times while he was there. Hollywood sometimes wants something original.
wait. Isn't this guy a Hollywood guy? I mean, he can't be called Hollywood when he was making movies.
No, talking about studios, the people actually get the movies released. Because you can make the movie, he's a producer, but at the same time, the final stage of your movie is Hollywood distributing it. And that's usually where you get your heavy notes and all that stuff. So he in the panel, he talked about his struggles. I didn't know he was involved in X3, that he was the original director of X3, right? So this is how to explain what you brought up. He's working in Hollywood. How is he not Hollywood, right? So he was hired as a director, right? So he was hired as a director. He had many ideas. He said the whole Golden Gate Bridge thing in X3, that was supposed to be like the second act. There was going to be more stuff happening after that, right? So he had all these plans. Obviously he'd done Layer Cake, which was supposed to be like a, what was it? I think maybe a Guy Ritchie, something like that. And he talks about the struggles of doing Lock, Stock, and Two, Smoking Barrels, where the studio said, we don't understand Brad Pitt. And if we're going to have Brad Pitt in here, we need to understand him. And they were like, that's why Hollywood was saying no to it. And they ultimately revealed that the reason why Lock, Stock got made was, for some reason, they got Tom Cruise to go see this in a private studio showing of it to people who would buy it. So they had Tom Cruise, when he comes into the room, he didn't talk about this before. I heard this later, but I heard this before that. So he comes into the room, sees Lock, Stock, and he says, that's the best movie I've seen in 10 years. You'd be fools not to buy it. And they immediately bought it. It was a big hit. So ultimately, he wanted, I think it's Guy Ritchie, he probably wanted Guy Ritchie to do Layer Cake, but he couldn't do it. So they said, hey, why don't you do it? So he directed, and he was like, he plans things, he produces, he has a budget, he shoots within that budget. The problem is Hollywood sees that and they say, here's your budget, Dad. We want changes. They want more. They want you to shoot more stuff, so they throw off your whole thing, even though they agree to the script and the scenes that are supposed to be in the script, but then they change it as that. So that's the first step of being Hollywood. When he did X-Men, he said that he got into it because he saw the script and he was like, the script is like really thick. So he read the first part of it and he was like, wow, this is a great storm scene. The storm is in Africa and there's a drought and she brings water and she helps all the people. And they look at it and it's like, yeah, that was just to get Halle Berry to say yes. We're going to throw that out once she signs it, we're throwing that out. And that's the thing. You get a boxing Helena scene where Kim Basinger realized what she signed up for and then they went out. But they turned them into, Halle Berry had to promote, had to be positive, had to go out, even though while everyone was trashing X3, and even though they changed what was going on. So he's going through stories like that at some point that happened. Then he hooks up with, Mark Miller. And they, I guess they're both Brits. So they were kind of connecting on Kick-Ass, and this would be different from the superhero stuff. And they produced it. He put his own money in it, which he's not supposed to do. And Hollywood did not want to distribute it. They did not. No one wanted to do it. And then ultimately they showed it to some people that put their money into it. And that ultimately made him again. And then the same person said he'd never work again. He said Hollywood, but there's only one person that's been in the X-Men and all these things and hasn't left, and nobody can say his name, but he's still involved in X-Men. And we can't say who his name is, because if it was Ike, they would be able to say Ike said no. If it was Iger, they'd be able to say Iger said no. But there's still one person that's out there. Same with Christopher McQuarrie, that was upset when Christopher McQuarrie was writing the Wolverine and got him off of it. So there's one person that's still involved in all those movies that no one can say, because he's still a big name. So there's only a few people that was in the room at the same time that's still working that they won't talk about. So
Who could it be?
who else could it be?
Inquiring minds.
He didn't say who it was, so we just had no one wants to say that. He just says Hollywood. So that's the hard part. When you have people that are still working, you can't necessarily talk about them. So you say the studio or Hollywood.
Again, I go back. I'm just looking at his filmography. All right, Layer Cake was not Hollywood. Stardust was not Hollywood. Kick-Ass was not Hollywood. The Debt wasn't Hollywood. X-Men First Class, I think that's Hollywood. Days of Future Past.
Kick-Ass was distributed by Hollywood, had TV
Right,
commercials. That's Hollywood.
Let's call that independent. But we're talking about the
It's not independent. If they put as long as you get you get commercials and distribution. Him, the producer is in Hollywood. Him having to take his movies and then distribute it is the Hollywood part. Because they're the distributors. The studios are the ones that put it into the theaters and put the movies out. You can do an independent movie and not go anywhere. You get the commercial. That's why when George Lucas saw himself doing the prequels as independent movies, but it had a connection to McDonald's. It's like, no, yes, you're putting your money into it, but you're getting the big commercials. You got a McDonald's deal. You got a toy deal. That's the machine. The machine is working.
So, but getting back to this, it just baffles me that he sees himself still as an outsider after all these years. I remember Sam Raimi once said in an interview that, he even though he's working on bigger budget movies, he always sees himself as a guy who started, with these smaller movies, right? That's what he always remembers himself as, and that's how he takes some of his sensitivities. And I can understand that, once you became successful based on what you did before, right? And so probably he has that whole vision of it. I mean, am I right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. That's what that was. It was an interesting interview because he was. I didn't know he originally worked on X3, and then he was surprised that they called him back for it. But the person who said it, talked to him and said, we like what you did on Kick-Ass. I think Kick-Ass was the one he was saying. So we want you to do this. So, and then he said, the other interesting thing he said was when he was doing, people to go into the Kingsman movies, he said the even though the book is a little more different because it has a young kid who has a hat and has the older guy type of deal, and what he worked out with Mark Miller. I don't know if the second series of Kingsman turned the guy into more of a British guy, but he said the hook of doing that was Ian Fleming was not for Sean Connery, the Scotsman, this big bulky Scotsman being James Bond. So then the producers were like, just let us get him and makeup and fix it up. And when you see him, you'll see it. And then they dolled him up and fixed him up and put him in a suit. And I don't know if he was into it now, but once the success happened, he was all with it. So the idea was that transformation is what they wanted to do it. And they wanted to be cynical. So if you watch the Kingsman movies, get that kind of cynicism in there at the same time too. So that's what the hook was. Then he was doing the second one, which he said it was went a little too far with it. But he ultimately said he was planning someone else to do 3. This is what I can remember. He was planning someone else to do 3, but I think he ultimately wanted to do it. That's what stalled that. But then he did the prequel, which he was like, even though whatever the success was, he was very happy with it. So ultimately, he was a great interview. He was a lot of fun up there. But the Argyle stuff is they plan to have it's original IP, but they plan to have a bunch of books. It has Bryce Dallas Howard. She's in there, and he wanted her in another movie, but it didn't ultimately happen. But they were pointing out how he's able to pick out talent, and at the same time, if you look at
Fantastic Four. Look at
Hmm?
that. Look
What's
at
up?
Fantastic Four. He was a producer on that film, and look at who came out of that film.
On what? What are you talking about? What? Say that again.
He was the producer on Fantastic Four, the 2015 reboot.
And who with the guy who's in everything now?
He picks talent. I said, if you look at the Fantastic Four movies where he was a fantastic, that movie tanked, right? But talent that came out of that movie went on to do some pretty big things. Some of them.
Oh, Sweat, he's still interested in directing the Fantastic Four? Oh my goodness.
I said he was the producer.
No, but he said, I mean, I know what you're saying, but once you said that, I went to that. They said, I don't know how old this is. Oh, this is a long time ago. Man. He was still interested in doing the Fantastic Four. Man, I don't know about that, but I think it would have still been fun. I think it would have been action packed, and he might have gotten the thing right, even though it might have been jokey. But that would have been interesting though. But yeah, okay.
I mean, one thing we one of the reasons we do like Vaughn is that he grew up basically, he's roughly the same as us, and he likes that you can tell his I guess filmography is basically a lot of action and sci-fi and action and comic book heroes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I have respect for doing that. I mean, I see that in his filmography that he's coming up with a movie in 2023 as a producer called Tetris, which is going to have also Taron Egerton, who's in The Kingsman.
Do you want to show this stuff that you're talking about?
Sure.
Hold on. Okay.
I'm going to share.
And make us as big as we can. Like try to expand us. Not just go forward with it. Hello? You okay?
Trying to get us.
Is this IMDb or is this, what is this?
This is Wiki.
Okay, so he produced, well, that's the thing, he was supposed to direct Days of Future Past also, but he said that Bryan Singer always had a clause to come, if he could come back to it. So
yeah. I don't remember he said he was out, but interesting, yes, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. Those are two movies that he worked with Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, those are the ones he was saying. He just talked about Lock, Stock, and he was saying how the struggles he had with that, But yeah, he ultimately didn't. His thing was, which is I think Halle Berry also reiterated as a director, saying that he didn't really want to be a director. He just when he I think it was Layer Cake, when he was doing Layer Cake, he couldn't get the directors to kind of go with what he wanted, and then I think Guy Ritchie told him, "Why don't you direct it?" And that got him. But ultimately, same Halle Berry was on WTF with Mark Maron, and he said, "So hey, you're directing now. You're like, you gonna start directing some more stuff?" And she was like, "No, I didn't really like it that much." He said, "Well, why not?" He said, "Well, I didn't really, do the boxing movie that she did that was on Netflix. I didn't really do it to direct. I did it with a plan in mind. I was producing, so I had a big plan. And when I go to directors, they had other ideas. So ultimately, since I had the plan, I just kind of became the director. But that's the hard part where, the director wants to put their stamp on it. When Tim Burton comes into a Kevin Smith written Superman movie, he first figures out, how can I throw out Kevin Smith's Superman script, even though Kevin Smith's Superman script was the thing that put the pieces together. So, that's the thing. So you can see he produced a lot of movies, and at the same time, that's the other bit with Rocket Man. He said, like the other thing, I wouldn't even count saying what worked and didn't work, like the Fantastic Four or Bloodshot, because you're going to have hits and misses. You know, that shouldn't really be your testament to saying whether, because I mean, he talked about wanting to do the Fantastic Four after the failure, you know, so it's like he wasn't, most of the time people start running scared from anything that has failed. So he did a short film about, oh, that's the singer. I was thinking about artist, John Bolton. Oh, I got a Rocket Man story he talked about.
Did pretty well.
Well, he said when he worked with Elton John on, they were joking about Elton John kicking everyone in the face. And he was like saying, yeah, he kicked everybody in the face as a joke. And he said, well, how did you come to do Rocket Man? He said, well, while we were on while we were on the film set of Kingsman 2, he said, I'm going to use this as an example again. He said that Elton John said, I can't get anyone to do my script. And he said, oh, God, that must mean it's terrible. It's like, it must be horrible. So then he said, he picked it up and he read it while he was traveling. And he was like, this isn't bad at all. Like, like, what? Why is people against it? And he said, maybe because they're thinking, you know, like him being gay and having that on film. But he was like, that's not really a big deal. So then he just said, let's do it. And that's how it happened. So, but everyone else turned it down. So it's kind of weird. I think I don't think I have, if you go back to his filmography, I'll see if I only know Bryan Singer wanted to do, what's the name? You know, did the Days of Future Past, but it'd be interesting to see where the X-Men would have went had he stayed on it. So
yeah, but I think Bryan Singer had a lock on that thing. Like he did a First Class is such a dramatic difference to what the story was going on, especially with the other dude. What's his name? You just.
But that's what I'm saying. If you get a success, you had a failure with X3, right? So you had a failure with X3 where he didn't get to work on it. You have success with First Class, and Bryan Singer's like, oh, that's my turn to come back on there. And he had success with what's the name, but you know, I think it's kind of tough that the X-Men went in a bad way. So I'm not sure. That's the kind of thing that I dislike, that Xavier was kind of backwards in the story. So it was kind of having Wolverine come back and kind of threw out the X-Men being at their starting point. But and not having the Sentinels be something where they just control my Magneto, because the whole point of having Sentinels is to negate mutant power. So that's what they would do. So it wouldn't just be, oh, they're metal, so Magneto would destroy them. Those ones look like glass, you know, like they're made from like fiberglass. So, well, who knows? Anyway, I think that was all, but it was a pretty good panel. I really enjoyed it.
Because I like Matthew Vaughn. I didn't get it, what was going on, but hey, next time, right? Yes. And one thing we got to point out is that one of the reasons you have in a lot of these panels in NYCC, you had directors and producers. So I saw the Wheel of Time, and there were no actors there. It was just basically the director, the VFX guy, and you're like, what the heck is this? Yeah, we had fun doing the VFX, so we had to keep it on the budget, the accountant was saying. And so you have him there, and because they don't have the talent. But Matthew Vaughn, I think, is a little different. He tends to be more engaging. I've seen him before on some talks, and he's a very engaging, very to the point guy, you know?
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to what I've said before. This guy keeps saying Hollywood when, I mean, right now he's done movies that have done over $1 billion. You know what I'm trying to say? If you do his filmography, you know, you combine future. Huh?
Sorry to cut you off. He definitely makes Hollywood films like Kick-Ass 2. All the stuff are very Hollywood style of film, but at the same time, I think as far as producing and dealing with the studios, that's the part that he's saying is Hollywood, like getting it to the finish line, having a product and then giving them the product, and then not asked to change it or add a bunch of stuff to it. Now you're going to the money.
I mean, it comes out to it. So you look, as a producer, he's done about 611 million, right? Mm-hmm. 15 movies. International box office of 1.5, so 1.7. I mean 1.5. He's done nearly $2 billion as a producer, movies that he's been associated with. As a director, 1.5. As a screenwriter, 1.5. As a story creator, almost 900 million. and the executive producer 37 million. So I mean, I don't know. When we talk about Hollywood, it just bugs me that he's like, yo, Hollywood. And you're
Sorry,
like,
I think Hollywood would be like Kevin
no, no, I'm just messing
Feige,
with you. I'm messing with you. I'm just saying,
Iger, Iger, the
corporate
guys
suit,
that can
right?
get
Corporate
things
suit.
greenlit, huh?
To the corporate suits. That's what you're
No,
talking
the guys that can get movies that come into the room and say, "We want this movie to happen." I mean, there's nothing more Hollywood where you see 3 and 4 movies with "Take Me Home," West Virginia, like it's like that's in Kingsman. It's in this movie
about.
with, huh?
Video game.
But I'm saying that one time there was a heist movie with "Take Me Home," the Bob Denver song. They had that in Kingsman, and then they had it in another movie. So it's like it's kind of tough when you have these things where they have the same hook. So there's a thing where I can agree of what Hollywood is and his style of film. Oh, excuse me. His style of film is definitely, I see what you're saying, that Hollywood, but I think he's more thinking of his struggles with it, with the distributor saying, what, this thing isn't going to work, or this direct, you'll never work. That sort of thing.
And I mean, and I don't think like some of the things like we had, like Kingsman wasn't as strong as some of the others. I thought I saw it and I didn't think it was that bad at all. And I think it's the world now, especially with the way the after the pandemic, how people are going, it's changed. And I guess you have to change with the fact. But like I said, the Kingsman, the third one was not bad. That was a prequel, and the series, hope it continues because I thought they did a pretty good job there.
Well, they got to do their League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with their own characters, which is cool to do because that's ultimately what the League would probably be, running around, running into good characters. You don't have to fall into the trap of having to use Alan Moore's stuff because other people have done it before. So it's not using I forget the books that were underlined of using public domain characters, but you can just use your own. But it's interesting the point that he said that Hollywood is saying, give us whatever you got. Don't give us the new gods. Maybe come up with your own, which is ultimately where you see all these people come up with these different schools of powers and whatnot.
Right.
You can, that's what I thought they should do, to be like, why are we spending? I mean, the hard part is getting it right. That's what kind of kills it. So when you saw the 90s, when there was a big superhero rush, it fell apart because they weren't good movies. So, and I mean, from Spawn to the animated stuff that didn't really work, but you can't always trust Hollywood to get it right. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So hey, just I thought, yeah, bigs up to the panel, big up to Matthew Vaughn. Hopefully he continues to do some good stuff. Petey, you wanna get us out of here?
Spinner rack.
Out.
Hold on, let me switch this.